Okay, we're recording, and I'm going to do screen share. Isn't that fun? Creativity, Gestalt experiments. So what I wanted to talk with you today about was, what does it mean to actually have a Gestalt experiment? Like, what does that look like? And where does creativity come into the whole Gestalt process? And I really love this visual, because to me, that's sort of how it is. It's like we're looking at possibilities, and there's so many different things that we might be able to consider trying, and we never know for sure which one is going to actually work. All we know is that it's an experiment, right? So there's no sense of it being absolute, or there's no way to predict which experiment is going to be useful or what's going to come to mind. It's all going to be very much related to whatever's going on in the present, like what's happening right here in this situation, and therefore what's the best possible experiment to attempt. So experiments are really going to vary according to whatever process or gestalt that your client happens to be going through at the time. So I'm going to move this so I can see this. Okay, there we go. So in our Gestalt therapy book, the Gestalt therapy book from 1973, Joel Latner talked about Gestalt experiments. And basically what he said is that Gestalt therapy is organized around principles of biological structure and functioning that can be seen in natural behavior. So what does that really mean? It means, to me, if I were to ask you what it means, I think that actually would be an interesting discussion. Because what he's really saying is that this depends on how it is that a person is holding all of whatever is occurring in their life, in their body, in their sense of self. And that our intervention then is to work with what is in front of us as real, the way in which that person has managed to, whatever strategies they've used, whatever way in which they've dealt with those concerns, that is their level of functioning. And it's seen very clearly in that natural behavior, in that natural way. I'm thinking, for example, sorry, more noise in the background. I was thinking, for example, of someone who may be holding a lot of grief, right? And it can show up like tension in someone's body, in a certain part of their body. Maybe that tension is in their back, behind their heart chakra. Maybe that tension is in their lungs or their chest. But if we can work with the gestalt of that, in other words, if we can assist our client to be able to deepen their understanding of whatever's occurring in their body, then that becomes the experiment. The experiment sometimes is as simple as being just the pause and allow. I've had that be the experiment with some of my clients, where they have not allowed themselves to feel anything. Everything they do is to avoid feeling. So just that simple pause and allow can be the first step into an experiment. Okay, I'm frozen here. So, I don't know what to do here. Sorry, it's frozen. I'm going to stop the share and see if I can figure out what the problem is here. There we go. All right. I don't know what got frozen or why. Okay. Okay. So self-regulation. What we're talking about here is the self-regulation that the organism functions with that is based out of the needs and fulfillment. In other words, we tend to regulate according to what will give us what we need. So what we do in Gestalt therapy is we disturb that homeostasis or that pattern or that strategy that the person has been working with all their lives as a way of trying to get their needs met, which oftentimes means that they don't actually get their needs met. Because strategies tend to not be very successful. They can be successful in short term. They can be successful in simple things like not, if you're a child, your strategy to hide into the background might mean that you don't get scolded as much or yelled at by your family, or you don't get in trouble, but it doesn't mean that you get your need for connection met. And it doesn't really mean that you get your need for safety met. It just means that you have found a strategy to have less disturbance rather than having your needs met. But as children, we tend to take these strategies into adulthood and think that, in fact, we've met our need because we didn't get maybe we weren't abused in the same way as older siblings were. So our need for not being emotionally abused was met, but all other needs were not. And we can confuse that with believing that our need for safety was met, when it actually wasn't, because we were in a household where nothing was really safe, right? So if we think about self-regulation, part of what we're doing as an experiment then is to consider what would happen if we disrupted or disturbed that strategy or that pattern that the client has really hung on to for good reason, because it's the thing that made them feel secure and solid. So their belief, right, the belief we take into adulthood is that if we just stay in the background, we'll always be safe. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are. And it also doesn't mean that our need for connection or contact ever gets met. So we want to work with a client to disrupt some of that thinking and that pattern that's being held in the body as well as in the emotional state of the client. And please interrupt me if you have any questions or comments on any of this.
Barbara, I have a question. Do you ever have a client where once you do disturb this process that they feel quite ungrounded for a while because that has been their default pattern for so long? Even if the pattern wasn't serving them in the future, serving them currently, that's like their normal.
Right. I would say, yes, that's part of what happens, is that there can be a sense of not knowing for sure where the edges are again, right?
Right.
And so part of completing the Gestalt in my mind is to provide enough of a safety in the container for them to ground in the new self. or in the new experience, right? So you want to have that be part of the process. And so sometimes what that means is that touch and go, where you touch into it and allow the client to see. Part of it is knowing that the client is the one who's, in my opinion, in charge, right? So they're going to decide how much of that they're willing to go into, right? And so you touch into it, and then if the client responds and wants to continue to explore it, then you can continue to explore it within their window of tolerance. Now, there can be clients who are sophisticated enough that they can have that window of tolerance disturbed or broadened because they know how to process whatever else there is to process on their own. Like they know how to let it keep happening. They know how to let that energy continue to move through them because it will just continue to heal. But some clients are not capable of that. So part of it too is to know what your client is able to do when you're not in the room.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So self-regulation is a continuing process of distinguishing the needs of the organism and the means whereby those needs can be gratified, organizing them into a cohesive whole of comprehension and activity, and carrying out that activity to a satisfying conclusion. This is, in my mind, how we work with an experiment. So when we get a sense of the needs of the organism, the needs of the person, I think it's interesting the way it's stated, but it's the needs of the person and the means whereby those needs can be gratified. Well, the first need might be a need for safety, if this is someone who's never had an experience of safety. So how do we first explore safety with someone? Part of that exploration is, therefore, to find how safe they are just being in their body with themselves. That's the first entry into that sense of safety. And if someone doesn't have a sense of safety, just being with themselves, that's the first place to begin then to work with. That's really what you want to work with to start with. So that's where that slow touch and go of being with yourself and coming back into the room, being with yourself and bringing your awareness back into the room, so that you can start to experience that it's okay to feel whatever you happen to be feeling, and it doesn't have to overwhelm you. You don't have to completely give into it fully, right? We're not going to ask you to cry until, for the next 3 hours or something. It's like people have this fear that somehow if they start to touch into emotion, that they won't be able, they'll be overwhelmed by it and it won't stop. Or they'll be punished for it if they've had some abuse around expressing their feelings. So we touch into it and see how much the person can tolerate that first safety of being in their own body. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, I think, is once we know that they can be within themselves as a container, can they also be with you as part of that container? And if they can be in contact with you, that contact boundary now extends to the room that you're in and extends to you and the client as an exchange. Then the task is to see if they can be with that experience of themselves in the presence of another person. And with that, you can begin to deepen the experience that they're having of whatever is there that needs to be worked with, so that it can be completed, so the Gestalt can be completed to a satisfying conclusion. Now, that satisfying conclusion may vary depending on the day and the window of tolerance of that client. So the satisfying conclusion isn't necessarily, it's not about the clinician, it's about the client. And if they can touch into a small degree of disturbing the homeostasis with an experiment, they will then be able to expand that over the course of sessions. So the experiment has 5 modes. So part of it is the enactment of an unfinished situation. We talk about unfinished business. And when we do the demo, and I'm hoping somebody here will volunteer for that, if we do a demo today, then you'll have a chance perhaps to see some of this. The other is something very much in the present, a contemporary reenactment of something. So part of it, the unfinished situation might be, for example, that I engage in an empty chair dialogue with my father and say things that I never got to say before he died. So I finished that dialogue that never had an opportunity to be complete. But a contemporary reenactment is about me being totally with whatever happens to be appearing in the moment, and then sharing that, working with that. And we call it a reenactment because it's whatever is there that hasn't ever had a chance to completely finish. For example, I want to say that when Clara was working, that was a contemporary reenactment. In other words, that was working with a situation that was very present in that container, if that makes sense. Just to give you an example. The other can be working with the character type or the polarity, like this sense of light and shadow. You know, we all have things about ourselves that we have difficulty with, and we have those polarities that we're always working with. So one experiment can be working with that polarity. Another can be uncovering blocks to whatever may be interfering with our being able to move forward or have a better understanding of things. And again, all of this, I think, is better seen if we can do a demo than to try to describe it. But if you have if I have a block around my heart, maybe, and maybe I've been hurt a lot, and so I don't want to, I'm angry at the concept of love or the idea of love or whatever because I've been hurt and I don't believe it anymore and I've become cynical. That would be a block. And so working with that block, and behind that is probably going to be some grief and sadness around whatever was the disappointment. But how do we get to that, right? And so we could use any one of these experiments as a way of coming to uncover that block. And sometimes we just use the breath. And experiments to me are always an invitation to do something different than what I've been doing, an invitation to try something that might give me a new perspective, that might give me a new experience that I can then sort of weigh against the way in which I've always done things, right? I can have a new experience. Maybe I can find myself able to express the emotion connected with that block over my heart and be surprised that now I'm open to the opportunity for connection again, for example. So it's always an invitation to try something, to engage in something. And we don't know exactly where it's going to go. There's no way that we can. If we set up an empty chair dialogue, we don't know what will be said. For example, if we have someone breathe into the block in their heart, we don't know exactly what emotion will emerge. We don't know what will happen. But what we know is that something will happen that's different than what has been happening. And what has been happening has not been the most satisfying experience a person could have in their life. I'm not going to say that what's been happening has not been working for them, because it has been. It's been working to some extent, to some goal, but it probably hasn't been allowing them to meet the needs they really want to meet, if that makes sense. So I think that clients are often afraid of the events of their life that they have unfinished, particularly if there are things that were intense, sometimes from childhood. But even getting in contact with our own shadow, like if we have a sense of ourselves as being a good person, then perhaps anger doesn't fit into that view that we have of what it means to be, quote, good or kind or loving or whatever, however we want to show up. But that shadow is part of what we need to make contact with, because oftentimes that's very related to that situation that we're resisting. Or it could be resisting a feeling or a personal characteristic, or contact with an unavailable person, unfinished situation. Exploring the unknown, exploring new aspects of ourselves. And so there's this fantasy in it, in that we have a fear of what's going to show up. But the fear isn't yet based in any reality. It's just based in our own conjecture. So part of conducting an experiment is acknowledging that there is this fear of what could occur, what I might encounter. Do I really want to know what happened? And I've had clients who've been very ambivalent about touching into their own traumatic events, because the fear is maybe it really was my fault. Maybe I'm really a bad person. Maybe it's not about the other person, but it's about me. And so they don't know if they actually want to even know the truth of what happened. So there can be this fear of the unknown of what may emerge when we engage in an experiment.
So Barbara, this is Jeannie. So it could be something in the past or something that someone's projecting forward to into the future.
Mhm.
Okay, so it can go either way. And with that, we could just do breath and allowing, or we could do empty chair with the possibility of what was.
Right.
Okay, all right, I'm getting it now.
Yes, I think you could. I mean, I've had clients who have been drunk and then violated, right?
Mhm.
And so the fear is, well, maybe I did consent,
Mhm.
even though there's all the evidence after the event that I didn't. The fear is maybe I did.
Mhm.
That's that kind of thing too that can happen. Or the fear that maybe I did something that I don't, that I'll have a hard time forgiving myself for or accepting in myself.
And could it also be like a forward thing, like a fear that like maybe you're sick, but you don't have evidence that you are, but you are creating a story that it is really much bigger than any of the evidence that you know right now. So you're stuck in this place of what have you,
Mhm.
whatever emotions are coming up, and can't necessarily be clear about your choices moving forward.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm. So the other thing about experiments is that we can assign our clients homework so that they can have a sense of their own readiness. So for example, we could have them journal a dialogue between parts of themselves. Journaling self and other. One of my favorite homework assignments is to have my clients write a fairy tale. And the fairy tale writing a fairy tale in my mind is much like working with a dream. And I'll have them write a fairy tale where they have to be the main character in whatever form they choose. They could be an animal, they could be some superpower, they could be anything they want, but as long as they're the main character. And as they write the fairy tale, we begin to see different parts of themselves come out, and we begin to see different psychological considerations come out. And it's kind of a fun, light way to work with this sense of dialogue. Okay, so what I wanted to do was now to have time for a demo and a debrief. So I'm wondering if anyone is willing to do a demo.
It looks like Lynn would like to go, except she doesn't want to take it away from any of Barbara's students. She wrote that in the chat. As one of Barbara's students, Lynn, I'm happy to let you go. What about the rest of our mates? Tony put a thumbs up, Lynn.
Okay, so I think that means it's Lynn. Except for there you are. Great. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, yes. Can't believe I just typed that.
I'm afraid I scared everyone off at the intensive.
Yeah, right. I wasn't there in your room, so yeah, I am a bit scared.
Oh, don't be afraid.
Okay.
There won't be anything like the intensive.
Okay. All right. Let me
It'll be
get-
much different because we're on Zoom for one thing.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna hide everybody if I can. Let's see.
yeah.
Oh, how do I do it?
I actually have no idea how to do that, but that's okay.
Yeah, me neither. I'm okay.
Lynn, you could just pin Barbara's video. Go to the three dots and then you could say pin video on Barbara.
I see. Great. Thank you. Okay.
Great.
Pin. Okay. Let's see.
All right. So, but
Yeah,
if you
I'm
just,
getting ready. Yeah.
yeah, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to hide myself too. And that's it.
You can go to the three dots in the corner and hit hide non-video participants,
Or for myself, is that right?
or it'll say hide non-video participants. Do you see that?
Yeah, let me, sorry.
Yeah, on your box, the three dots.
I see hide self view, but I don't see hide other participants.
Hide self view should work.
All right, so I'm gone, but I still see you all at the top of my screen.
Try to go to one of the ones with just a name, hit the three dots, and that may say hide video participant, non-video participant.
I see. Let me try that. Yep,
Might
it did it.
work.
Okay, great. That did it.
Okay, here we are.
Okay, great, great. Again, I can't believe I just typed that, Barbara, but I'm willing. I'm ready to go.
Great.
All right.
Now, how about if we just start with a full breath? And just
Yeah.
see where you're at.
I'm taking off my choir robe. I just came from choir.
Oh,
Can you see me, Barbara?
I can.
Okay, great.
So let's just start with taking a full breath, just settling into yourself and see what's happening. Just whatever thoughts, feelings, sensations you might be aware of. Just see what's there today.
Yeah, my heart is pounding. I feel my heart pounding a lot. So
Okay. So just be with your heart pounding. Hmm.
Is your heart pounding too?
No, it isn't.
Harmony always tells us that she can pick up on things that are going on within us. So I just wondered.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I'm curious about what your heart pounding is telling you.
um, my first response would be that there's people watching, but I don't really think that's it. My classmates, I don't think that's really it. I think it's what could come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps a little fear about what might emerge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel it in my arms too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do your arms want to do?
They just they want to move. They
Uh-huh.
feel very restless, my arms.
Yeah, I had this sense that they might want to move.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could start with an experiment of just shaking your arms out, seeing
Okay.
what you will do.
Yeah. Just yeah, I don't know why. That my arms, it's almost like I don't know what to do with them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Shake.
How's it feel to have your arms just move?
It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they feel so full of energy, my arms.
So let's just stay with that.
Okay.
That's where the energy is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what it's here to show us.
Okay. Mm.
So now what?
They're better. They feel better.
They feel better?
Hmm. Yeah, not so much energy to shake.
Okay. And how's your heart pounding?
It's better too.
Okay. All right. So maybe you can take a full breath and just see what's underneath the heart pounding. And just see what's there. And invite whatever's there to come up.
Mm. Yeah. I think it's fear.
Okay. So there's fear.
Yeah. Yep. Fear.
Mm-hmm. If it had a shape, what would it be?
Um, It's kind of just everywhere. So that doesn't sound like a shape to me, but
Uh-huh.
it's just
It's
kind of,
pervasive.
yeah, just pervasive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's just breathe into the fear. The fear that fills your whole being. And as you breathe into it, I want you to just touch the edges of it. With your breath.
So thoughts are coming up. Do you want to know what they are?
I do.
So the thoughts are that, sorry, getting rid of my robe. The thoughts are that this fear that I have, well, sorry, that my emotions are right there.
I can see this. I can feel this. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I always get upset when my emotions come up because I can't speak.
Right. They get caught in your throat.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's just be with that feeling in your throat where everything gets caught. So you might want to just breathe into the back of your throat. Just mouth open into the back of your throat. And tell me what you're aware of.
I feel like I can speak more,
Okay.
easier. So, but I feel disconnected from the emotions, but I can tell you what I was thinking.
Okay.
So the fear is that this fear that I have, that it won't ever go away.
That the fear will never go away.
Yes, that,
Uh-huh.
whatever this fear is, that I think I know what it is, but that I won't ever be able to get beyond it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back and be with the fear. And with your breath, I want you to see if you can experience the edges of the fear.
With my breath.
Uh-huh. With your breath. You say it's pervasive. It's familiar. It's been there a long time. I'm just going to experiment with touching, making contact with the edges of the fear. And tell me what you're aware of.
I feel a little bit of tingly going up into my head.
Okay, just stay with that. So just continue to breathe into the edges of the fear and let that tingling happen.
What do you mean exactly by the edges of the fear?
So what I mean is that there's an edge to everything in our body, right? To everything we feel. And if the fear feels all pervasive, there's possibly, this is an experiment, there's going to be the potential to make contact with the boundary of it. So just imagine the fear like you're in your robe, right? And there's a place of contact with the edge of that robe. If that cloak were your fear, where is the edge of that? I want you to just experiment with feeling, not thinking, but feeling into the edge of the fear. And tell me what you're aware
I feel more calm than I did
of. Uh-huh.
a few minutes ago, and I feel a few tingles going up in my head, but they don't stay with me. They just come and go.
Right. That's just energy releasing.
Hmm.
Those tingles are just the energy releasing. Right. So let's go back in one more time and just see if you can find the edge of the fear with your breath, like the edge of a cloak. And find that edge if you can, from your feet all the way up to your head, the crown of your head, extending out to your limbs. Just find the edge. And imagine the fear has been like an energetic shield. And just find the edge of it. And tell me what you're aware
I'm just aware of calm, more calm,
of. Mhm.
and my thoughts flit back and forth between people are watching and I want to do this. I want to do the exercise. So I
Uh-huh.
know my myself kind of watching myself.
And you're doing the exercise.
Yeah, I think I am doing it, but there's a little bit of the battle in my head of,
Mhm.
you know, um, just people watching.
Right. What would you like to say to all the people watching?
Yeah. Well, I see emotion.
Uh-huh.
Um, well, I like all the people watching, so
So it's not really about them.
yeah, right.
It's about being watched.
Yeah,
It's about being seen.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, right. Probably by you too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Anyone
yeah.
being seen.
Mhm.
Mhm. So the battle is wanting to be seen and not wanting to be seen. Yeah. And the fear is that maybe you'll be seen, but equally afraid you might not be. Is that possible?
Um, yeah, you're right about the battle of wanting to be seen,
Mhm.
and then not knowing how to allow that in myself, not knowing how to allow myself to be seen.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
And yet you're doing it.
yes, I am.
Mhm.
Good for
Right
me.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're doing it.
I am. Yeah, I'm very proud of that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're letting yourself be seen.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm ready.
You're ready to break the pattern.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm ready.
And not let the fear hold you back.
Yeah, yeah. There's for me, there's nothing else there's nowhere else to go, like other than this path. There's nowhere else to go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So the natural next step is to be seen.
Yeah.
And you're doing it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And where's the fear now?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel less fear now.
Okay.
So I don't know where it is.
Okay. There's less fear. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And is there any place in your body where you're still holding it?
My heart still feels a little bit fluttery.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I still want to move my arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would your heart like to say to all these people who are seeing you?
Mm. Just that, just, just that I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready. Okay. Do you have a request from them?
Request. Yeah, so the request would be if they could stay and not go away, then that would help me to, if I knew they could stay and not go away, that would really help me to keep showing up.
Mm. Okay. So can you tell them that?
Wow, that's hard. Well, yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because emotion is right there.
Uh-huh. Emotion is okay.
Yes. Emotion's okay. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna try. All right. Keep going. Keep going. That's what I tell myself. Keep going. Wow. Good try. All right. I'm working up courage. Working up the courage. Barbara.
Okay.
All right. Okay. If you could stay, if you can stay, not go away.
Yeah. Let that happen. Just let that happen. That's it. Mhm. Yeah. Just let that happen. That was really courageous of you to say that.
I've had a lot of practice this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want me to finish the sentence?
Yes. If you're ready.
Okay. Then okay, so I said, if you can stay and not go away, then I can keep showing up.
Mhm. How's it feel to say that?
It feels vulnerable and like the truth. Like it feels true. That's what I need. People
Mhm. Right.
people can stay and not go away.
Right. For people to see you fully
Mhm.
and stay. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And stay. Yeah.
Is there anyone outside of this group of students that you'd want to say that to? I'm just curious.
Anybody.
Anybody. Anybody who can see you.
Yeah. Anybody.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody. I'd take anybody.
Uh-huh. So there's a real deep longing to be seen and for people to stay. Yeah. Can you feel that in your body? In your heart, maybe?
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Beautiful. So would you consider one last experiment?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. The heart, is to me the seat of courage.
Mm.
So I want you to make a proclamation.
Okay.
Okay. And you can make it to your colleagues here. The proclamation is, I'm ready to be fully seen.
Okay. From the heart, right?
Correct?
Which is the seat of courage.
Yes.
Okay. Mm. Hmm. Ooh, get it out. Come on now. Okay. I'm going to do it, Barbara. I'm going to do it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay.
Your arms might be involved in it.
That energy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. They still have energy. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I could lift a lot of weights right now.
Uh-huh. So maybe your arms are part of the proclamation.
Okay. Okay. Good. I like that. All right. All right. Okay. Let me sit up. I liked it. Okay. I am ready to be fully seen.
Okay. How does it feel to say that?
It feels good. It feels like it feels true.
Uh-huh. Okay. And where's the fear? Is there fear?
No, not that I know of. No.
Okay. So let's say it one more time.
Okay. Arms are so helpful. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But yeah, they're good. All right. I am ready to I am ready to be fully seen.
Again.
I am ready to be fully seen.
And one more time.
I am ready to be fully seen.
Yeah. How does that feel?
It feels good. It feels vulnerable, but in a good way. A good vulnerability.
Good. So you've made a request to be seen. You're ready to be seen. And you've made a request for people to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel complete for now?
Yes, I do.
You do?
For now, because I know we're running out of time.
Well, maybe we can do more some other time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we bring the crew back in?
Yes. Yes.
You ready for that?
I am. Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's see if any of them ran away.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not actually sure how to. Oh, there, I do this. I remove the pin. That's what I do. All right. Hello, everyone. Ready for feedback? Questions, comments? Now, this is not, of course, feedback on Lynn. It's about the process, the experiments, the things that you saw. Unless, Lynn, you would like some feedback. Do you want to know that they're all willing to stay?
I know that they are.
Okay. Any comments? Anything you noticed?
Lynn, thank you. I'm staying with you, so. Barbara, I like how you went back and forth between trying an experiment and then checking in with where the fear is. That was good, helpful for me to see.
Mhm.
So it was like, try this, now where's the fear? Try this, now where's the fear? And so I think that was really interesting to watch that back and forth process. And then just a quick comment on the end, Lynn, when you were practicing saying those phrases, it was really amazing to see the body language where you began with just looking away, like you didn't quite believe it. And then the end, you were kind of James Bond-like. You're like deadpan, with your phrase. And it was like, you really did believe it. And so it was so, so powerful. And thank you for sharing your power and your James Bond with all of us.
Barbara, I have a question about feeling the edges of the fear
Mhm.
with like a pervasive feeling that feels like it's everywhere. Was it was the practice to get to the edge of it from the inside or the outside? Like to feel how big it was or to feel that it wasn't infinite? I know you don't know like where it's going to go, but I was just curious about that because I liked that idea of something that just felt so huge.
Right. So my reason for doing that is that even though it's pervasive, it has an edge. Right. Even though a feeling can seem as if it's taken over us, there is always an edge, energetic edge to the experience. So if we can touch in, and it's from the inside, if you can touch into the energetic edge, then you know that it has an edge. You make contact with that boundary. So you know that it has a boundary. If it has a boundary, it's not infinite. It's not like something that can't change. But there's no request to change it. It's just noticing that it has a boundary. So if something has a boundary, that means that one day you might feel that, and one day you might feel something else, or that boundary could change as you go, and it did as we went through this series of experiments. So it's making full contact with the fear. Because to feel that it's pervasive can be an experience, and Lynn could probably tell you this better than I can right now, but I can have this sort of amorphous experience of something that we can't touch, we can't quite get a hold of because it seems so much bigger than us. But the truth is, it's not bigger than us because there's a boundary to it. And the boundary is somewhere within us, within our grasp. Does that make sense? Does that make sense for you, Lynn?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Barbara, I didn't really understand it at first when you directed me to that, but it makes sense what you just said, in that it is bound. It just doesn't keep going forever. There is a limit to it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, somehow knowing that makes it less fearful.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the intention. Thank you.
Mm.
Barbara, I like how you always seem to pull in something from the environment. I've seen you do it like many times, and this time it was her choir robe. But I've seen you like pull in Harry Potter, you pulled in like all of these, kind of things that are just like these mentionings that seem so grounding to the people of like kind of like what they're going through energetically is vast. It has like it's been there for many years, but then you kind of have them touch into something that's right there, that's there now. And here you did it again. And it's just something that I think is really helpful for me to remember in keeping someone in the here and now, that there might be something right in the room that may look over, but to keep that in mind so I don't look over it. I can kind of connect in a way with the client in something that's important to them. Thank you.
Sure. I often think about a pervasive emotion like a cloak. It feels like that, like it's just something. And since there was a choir robe right there, that made the most sense, right? Because that's the cloak. And then that gives it already a boundary. Because you can put it on, take it off, it has a boundary. And when something has a boundary, we know that it already becomes more manageable. What about the experiments? Anything there that you want to comment on or have a question about? Because we went through a series of them.
I appreciated the touch and go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought that was, I don't think I had seen it so clear before, or maybe I hadn't seen it so clear with a client who needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was really helpful to see illustrated so well.
Now, there's a lot more that could have been done, obviously, with this situation, because whatever this is about being seen probably has an older root. And if there'd been more time or a different arena, we might have gone deeper into that root. Like, where did this come from? The questions that come up for me, the curiosities, and I have no idea how they apply to Lynn, obviously, but the curiosities that come up for me are, who didn't see you? When did you need to be seen? In the past, what happened if somebody did? There's lots of curiosities I have about the root of it and where it might have come from, and then how do we cut that? How do we shift that homeostasis from that old pattern of it's frightening to be seen? But this proclamation will already begin to do that without even going to the root. Because the only place things can change is in the present. I just have a tendency to go to the root of things. Any other thoughts? It wasn't so scary today. It wasn't so intense. Okay. Anything else? Anything from you, Lynn, as we wind up here?
I don't think so, Barbara, other than I know for me as a client, because I was just a client with you just then, that I have so much lack of patience, like in the whole process. Like I just want it to be over with and done. And so I continue to struggle with that, like wanting to just get it over with, like go to the root, rip it up and be done with it. So I know for myself, like there's a lot of impatience. So I can imagine with other clients that they too would have a lot of impatience with the process.
Right, right. Yes. And I think that's really where we want to go, is to the root, I think. Thank you. All right, you're all very quiet this morning.